Hello and welcome back to Tips and Time Savers. I'm Danny Rocks. A few lessons ago, I introduced the choose function while I was demonstrating how to apply option buttons to an Excel form. Since then, I had several viewers write or call and say, Danny, I had no idea the choose function existed. That's incredibly useful. Can you give me another example? My pleasure. Okay, over here in column A, we have dates. What we want to be able to do is we want to be able to extract the month name from column A. All right, let's begin by using the month function, equals month. And with month, there is one argument, the serial number. So I'm going to click over here into the cell that has the date and hit Control Enter. So I get a 1. Meaning that January is the first month. So for example, if I had in here a date in February, it's going to return 2. Date in March, it will return 3, and so on and so forth. All right, now that we have that, I'm going to use the choose function over here and apply a label for the month. Equals choose. And I like to always bring up the function arguments dialog box. So over here, we learn that for the choose function, we must supply the index number. Well, the index number is going to be the result of our month function. And for the values, in Excel 2007, we can now put in up to 254 values. If you're using choose function in Excel 2003, your limit is 29 values, which is still substantial. So for value 1, January. And one thing that's nice about using the function arguments dialog box, you see it automatically applied the double quotation marks. All right, so I'll type the rest of the 12 months of the year. Okay, there you go. So now I have 12 values, the 12 months of the year. Click OK. So you see how that's turned into January. Now let's just copy this down. So I'll select both of the cells with formulas, double click autofill, and now as I page down, you'll see that when we get into February, how it turned into the label for February. Now let me give you a couple of ways that we could use this. One way would be to use it for subtotaling. So if I were to apply a subtotal over here, every time I had a new value, I'd get a subtotal. Well, I wanted to get a subtotal for January. Now, of course, to do that, you'd have to move the columns around a little bit, and what you would want to do is not have this as a formula. You'd want to copy and paste special as values to turn that formula into a label. All right, now let me give you another way that we can use the choose function. Let me unhide several columns over here. What I have ratings from 1 through 5. Over here, I have the ratings that I want to apply labels to. So in other words, a rating of 1 becomes poor. Rather than type these in, I'm going to refer to a cell in the choose function. So once again, equals choose. Use the function arguments dialog box. Our index number must be a positive value, must be a serial number that's a positive value. So this will not work with negative numbers. So here is my positive serial value. Now instead of typing in what I want to do for value number 1, and of course these must be in the order that you want them to be. So the first label is going to be in L1. Now remember here, because we're going to be copying this down, we want to turn this into an absolute cell reference. The easiest way to do that is with the F4, the function for keyboard shortcut. So for a rating of 2, the second in the list, I'm going to point to cell L2. Remember to turn that into an absolute cell reference. A rating of 3 will be in cell L3 to make that absolute. A rating of 4 is in L4. And just use the scroll button down here, a rating of 5 in L5, and making that absolute. So there you go. Again, if I were to change that into a 3, you see it would change it into the third value that I have in the list, or I turned it into a 5. Sorry about that. All right, now let's copy this down. And again, one of the advantages of using a reference to a cell is that if I wanted to change the label, it would be very easy and have that updated all the way. So over here I could put, over here is excellent. And you see how it would change that automatically in there. So the choose function is great. Remember, when we use choose, the index number must be a positive serial number. And if you're using this in Excel 2003, you can put up to 29 values. If you're using Excel 2007, you can have up to 254 different values. It's certainly a lot easier than using nested if function. Equals if 1, turn the value. Oh my God, you get a headache with all those parentheses. So the choose function is typical of the tips that I try to introduce you to in my series of DVDs, the 50 best tips for Excel 2007. And I'll see you in the next lesson.